Welcome to the Healing Collective podcast, where we explore the paradox of healing.
And we broadcast all of the healing codes to support a world of more heart-centered humans. Hey everyone, this is Lauryn. And today's podcast is one where I get emotional, shocker, and just reflecting on how we lean into the mystery of life and the lack of control that we have over what's happening and how we navigate all of these unexpected challenges while also holding like the beauty of being. And you'll notice Bethany and I haven't had guests. We're just even trying to find our own identity and what this podcast means to us. And so it's been interesting to just see the universe have it such that we're just talking to each other. And, you'll hear me talk about my relationship with Haman again and again and again. And, it just continues to be such a teacher for me, but also it's so vulnerable to share this process here and to know that people listen to it. And to also like hold myself gently and accept my own journey around it. So thank you for your compassion. I'm thinking about all of us right now. This is the week that the children were murdered in Texas, just about a week after the Tops grocery store murder of many Black bodies. And just holding us and grieving with us and creating space for that today and always. Good morning. This should be interesting.
Why?
Because I feel like I'm a totally different person at this time of the day.
Oh.
And maybe not the person that does podcasts.
Well, we will find out. I'm in full,
You got a mean face. You got a mean face.
Do I? Yeah,
I have company too, my mom.
How is she doing? She just was visiting you like a month ago.
Making coffee, yeah. She's visiting again. So I am closing on my house. It's officially happening.
My God. How do you feel?
It's interesting. I've had I had Marla on Tuesday, an energy work. Then I had therapy right after. The first one, this move, it's just like a huge change. It's a metaphor, but it just feels like there's this really big change happening in my life, and that I've been in this in-between place. And even once I move, it's going to take a little while to fully be in there. But I really lost it. It was like a day of one of those days where I just didn't get out of bed crying, which I haven't had in months and months. So basically I let my guard down with Haman for a few days and got really burned with that decision. And also then this house thing is happening. And then I just didn't realize how much I was in transition or how much I was holding. And then an interesting thing happened. There was all this drama around the closing because the appraisal came back too low. And the seller was really arguing, that's not the right appraisal. The lawyers were this is the right appraisal, all these things. And I did have a moment of clarity, and there's so many cooks in the kitchen because my mom's involved too. And I just wrote this letter to everyone. And I was just basically I know that this is the house that I'm supposed to live in. I trust everything that's unfolding. I want to honor all the people that are involved in this. And I talked about how it requires a lot of trust to do a transaction this big, and that I'm trusting that the seller is giving me a fair price. They're trusting me to come through. We're trusting our lawyers and our realtors. I kind of stated here's the facts. Here's what we know. I'm in my opinion, it would be kind if you lowered the price or made an adjustment for me. And I have to trust the decisions you make and what's in integrity for you. And I know, and it was communicated to me that you don't have wiggle room because of what you owe on the house. And so anyways, it was kind of like that vibe, and it felt very aligned to my values, and it really, everything shifted. And then we had a closing date like right after
Sounds
that.
clean AF.
Yeah. So that felt like growth for me. Like it, and I haven't been, my Scorpio eclipse was in my house of like spirituality and faith and stuff. And I am really tested in that. I'm really upside down in like that place.
Yeah. So for Scorpio, it would be like what you're letting go of, be some sort of letting go of something because it's tied to the South Node.
Yeah.
Wow. And what's the close date?
Wednesday, June 1st.
It's coming right up.
Yeah.
What kind of, that's a transition. Like, are you going to make a ritual? Like, what are you,
yeah,
what are
Jacqueline's flying in to help me make a plan. Like I am using this house as an opportunity to try to do everything aligned to my values. Like that's why even the transaction was important. Like I don't want to have any. And so like when Jacqueline comes, I want to do a ritual before we do anything else. And then just like have a really clear plan for the move. Like systems, like for like closets and shelves and like stuff like that. Like I don't know if I'll have very much furniture for a while because I'm not bringing any furniture and my money is so tight right now, but I just don't want to be like living in boxes or stuff around. And then I was doing my calendar yesterday, and because Taylor's playing travel ball plus the trip we're taking, then my mom has a trip. Like we're going to be gone like every weekend, like for most of June and like a lot of time. So it's just really interesting. Yeah.
I knew I was doing something right because I got a new car recently. Did I tell you that?
Yeah.
And the day that the kids were in the car for the last time, like I was dropping Finn off at school and from the old car for the last time. And I was before I saw them again, I was going to get the new one. He's just like, Mom, I was like, this is your last time in the car. He's like, and he just kind of put his hand on it. And he's like, Mom, do a ritual. Make sure to do a ritual. And I was like, okay, I will, honey. And then later again, he was like, did you do a ritual? I was like, I did. I just did something simple, but like, I'm doing something right. If my kids are in tune enough to be like, this is a transition and it needs to be honored. And we have the power to honor it and the agency to do that. It's really cute.
And the consciousness that our spaces hold, like that is something I'm really becoming aware of, like all the energies that, it's just like kind of like our physical body so valuable to us, and there's all these energies that are happening in and between our body. It's like, yeah, every house that I visited, just feeling all the energy related to places. And Marla did this thing, I don't remember what she called it, but basically like this thing of like anchoring me to the house as like a place of like security and safety. And I don't know, I'm getting a lot of, not a lot, but a few messages about being a fortress. And the house kind of looks like a fortress to me. Like it has like fortress energy. So.
This is the one you showed me? It's like really white on the inside?
Yeah, but it's the one that's like, it's brick, like almost all brick on the outside. So it's just like when you come to the front, like the front door isn't even on the front of the house. It's like a bungalow, Chicago bungalow style. And the front door is on the side of the house. And it's just like, looks like this big kind of like wall of bricks.
It's your castle, your moat.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. The healing house here has been doing its thing, even without a lot of like focus from me. Like Mia was here the other night, and my friend, one of my old friends, is living here for a few months. His name's John. And Mia was pulling cards and doing a reading for me. We were doing our thing, which is always doing that stuff around the house or whatever. And he was like edging in on his stuff. Like he's kind of a skeptic. He's like, I don't want to be. And he's like, I want to try to pull cards. I want to do this. And he was actually like digging and like finding his channel a little bit and doing stuff. And he's really silly and funny. So he's being funny about it. But like, I could feel that it was kind of potent. And then he told me yesterday morning that he had like a huge experience overnight and had all these dreams that he feels like he let go of all this stuff. And we did a little bit of Reiki with him and stuff. And he was just like, kind of like, what's going on? And I was like, stuff like that happens here. It's fine. Everything's good. He's like, okay. He wants to process it a little bit. I'm like, just wait, because we're having a party tonight with all of them, you know, all the people are going to be here. I'm sure the table will be out and all of it. So that'll be his first experience with most of those people.
Yeah. Something I'm like, I really want to talk to you about, but I'm like, I don't know if I want it on the podcast, actually. I feel tender about. Like I'm scaring myself because like I know I should be like over this by now. I feel like I should be over this by now, but like, you know, Scorpio risings have a lot of stuff happening around committed partnership right now. And even like their romance, their house or whatever
Increases.
And like one of the things like, well, Haman's ex wrote me, and that happened, and we had a conversation about that, and there was like this really good energy happening, like a familiar, safe energy that I've experienced with him. And then like for a few, maybe even over a week, like, and then it just switched and my body started going crazy and I could feel that there was somebody else. And I asked him about it and he said yes. And then he felt a year ago at this time, almost like, and even in the fall, like this one that's like, it just is so weird. It's almost like I don't exist anymore. And we had this like really difficult conversation about how, you know, when it comes to, it's like he's, you know, he'll meet these people and he'll have this reaction like something's really special about them, you know, and I'm over here like I've watched this happen like 25 times, you know, and, you know, maybe it is, who knows, but, you know, I'm like, I said to him, I'm like, you know, it's never me. And it's actually like, you know, there's definitely different feelings about it, but there's also part of me that just is like so confused, like just doesn't understand, like I'm right here. Like it's just, that's the energy, like I'm right here. I'm always right here. So I just noticed with you, because you're a Scorpio rising, like I can like really scare myself that like stuff that's happening with you is happening there. And you know, I felt like I had made some really big shifts around it, and I think opening myself up again, you know, like I just yeah, so I'm just kind of like facing and taking responsibility, but also being gentle, because I can feel how much I want to like beat myself up for like having this experience again. I guess to feel present with you, I just noticed that got triggered like right away. And I think like related to my faith, you know, like my interdimensionality and all the places that I can go and feel so confident, like it's just I'm not seeing evidence of a lot of the things that I feel so strongly as like truth in my actual reality. And it's really messing with my self-trust around that part of me.
I know that one in me. That's like I'm right here. What about me? And wants to like list, like, I'm this, I am this, I am this. Why don't you see this? Why don't you get my value? I know that one of me so well. I've been hanging with her because she's like, I think I talked to you about it one day, the temper tantrum metaphor. Did I not tell you that?
I don't think so.
Well, I don't want to I want to honor what you were just talking about, and that like the things that are happening in my life right now might feel triggering or sensitive. So does this feel like a good time for me to go into that?
Uh-huh.
So, obviously with my quote unquote friend that we talk about on this podcast all the time, and in other places and in my marriage, there's always just been this way where I've pretty much partnered with like avoidant people who didn't really see my value all the way. And I just was co-created me trying to look to them to tell me something about myself that I needed to know about my value that I didn't know for myself. And so I was just always like, I think my ex-husband, I was with him for like 8 or 9 years. I think he told me I was beautiful, like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times I can remember. And so like, that was pretty normalized in me. And then, and I've like, even people who really do love me and see good things in me still like didn't want to be with me for whatever reason. Like I just kept finding people that were not available in different ways, not available emotionally, not available in time, not available in space. They don't live here. And, whatever, like there was just always not someone being like, yo, you are it. And we are going to move through whatever barriers to be together. Like I wasn't having that experience ever. And recently I met somebody who that's what they're doing. And they don't even live here. They fly here every week to take me on dates and to be like, hang out with me. And they call me every single day. And they tell me I'm beautiful like 10 times a day. And not even in like cheeseball way, sometimes cheesy because he's really funny. And I feel like that persona in me, that is one of my like core victim personas that's just like was so unsettled all the time, who would be like, what the fuck? Like, see me. Why don't you see me? Why don't you see this about me? And would make arguments for my value, which of course I'm making this argument to myself because I wasn't valuing myself that way, I imagine, on some level. But having it reflected out in this way almost was overwhelming to my nervous system. Like it's so not what I was used to that I was kind of like, something's wrong. This is weird. How can he know that he likes me this much or something? Like, he can't think that about me. Like, I would get a little overwhelmed, and I was noticing myself like shutting down a little bit and being like, okay, that's enough for today. Like, no more compliments today. Things like that. And it reminded me of like, we've got kids, but kids who are like having a temper tantrum and are like, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. And they're so upset that they're not getting it. And the parent is just be like, oh, you want a lollipop? Here you go. Here's a lollipop. And I just imagine the kid with the lollipop kind of stunned because they got what they wanted and now they don't even know what to do with it. And they're kind of like, like confused. Mm-hmm. I like did a whole SE session with my therapist, Kathy Latner, my SE therapist, just on like, can you take in the nice things that are happening to you right now? That was the work of the day. I got used to it really quick, but that's what's happening over here. And I know that you're going to have that experience. I know that it's going to be reflected back to you, and it's going to be this totally different thing. And yeah, I mean, that's just when I think into the future in that way that I do with time, I know that is going to happen. And you do know it too. And I think you've talked about it in like when you do your life walk and other stuff, some like partnership stuff, but it feels like a really amazing, important gift. And it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's the complication is around like trying to like even how to simplify this. I feel so scared to talk about it.
Mm.
Like, I'm just trying to be as honest as possible for my own process, but like, it's a weird feeling. It's like, there's a part of me that's like, I know I could find and create that in 3-dimensional reality.
Mm-hmm.
And the part that's like really fucking with me is like the part of me that it's the power of it, the energy of it is so strong and so it literally feels like this energy like pull like this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I like believe she came here very specifically to be in a body with that person or that energy embodied in that person, and to like do certain things like that. There's actually like a mission and like things that we were agreed to do. And then and just the way that that's impacted so much of how I've made sense of that experience. And then like, you know, when I went to Sedona in January or whatever, like, you know, the conversation was like, I see you, I understand, like you are the only person for me, we are made for each other, like and one of the things he said was like, I'm gonna love you so well this year. And I really it landed in my body as like all these things that we went through, like that I could trust myself, and that I'm like, this is what I knew was possible. And that, you know what I mean? That experience is what it was all for. And like and there's even some like anger at the universe, like my universe, like I literally, the highway was 143, which is like my universe number. Like I pulled cards that were like, you're on the right, you know, I was like everything. And so there's just like this, like, that's why it's so tied to like my faith and my spirituality, you know? It's like, even like in the human, like the human of this man is like not like clearly not like the best human partner type of thing, but this other energy that I experience. And even when I had pulled cards that I would like, that energy would be here in this month, and it was for, you know, I had that experience again, not exactly like that, but it was like, I don't know how to say it. It's really like energetically like someone else is there, and it's someone that you've like know, you know. And so it's more like the part of me that like can move on and like try to pretend that that's not a thing.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you know, like the council, like, you know, my mentorship, relationship, Freedom House, like everything. And like that I was like all in on, you know, and I just, I just can't like fully make sense of it in my body in a way that and so then that impacts, there's like these things, like even getting on the podcast today, I'm like, I'm just in this place where I'm like, do I have anything to say? You know, is what I say trustworthy? You know, like, is what I feel, it's what I sense about reality even on point, you know? Because all of these things are connected to my knowing, you know?
It's a tower moment.
Yeah.
And I think probably it sounds to me like a refinement. Like I trust all your knowing in that space. And just sounds like, I think there's a reason there's that phrase, like, let things go, and if it comes back to you, it's yours. Like, I just think that it seems to me there's some sort of adjustment in your relationship to those things that's here, and you're just being asked to let go of it all and to like let it come back in. And
I'm trusting to some extent, like with the counsel and like my mentorship relationship, I won't even say I'm trusting it. It's just like, it just happened. There's just like, it just feels like when I energetically check in, I'm just like, this is what's happening. It's separation, I think with like human energetically is like such a home base for me. Like I'll get separate, the separation is more difficult for me, and the acceptance and the full, like, letting go. Actually, one piece of hope for me sometimes is your relationship with your co-pilot, and like, like, it's like, I want to trust this feeling, but I also like really judge it, and I can see how like much we judge that in our culture. Like don't you think we really judge women who like are like really long for like a man, a certain one?
Yeah.
And yeah, so there's just something about like, trusting that he will be in my life, and it will be in a better way. And just the confusion that my body feels sometimes of feeling that way about someone who's also been so unkind to me in so many ways. There's just like a lot of complexity there that can be really hard for me to sort through.
Well, also, it's like, I think that these people that we feel connected to and that we long for and that have all this time, and many lifetimes and all this stuff, I think we're also, like, I've heard you say so many times, like, I'm learning the lessons in this life. And I just think part of what you signed up for is to learn all of them, including letting go.
Yeah. Even in our conversation, he was like, we signed up for like the hardest lesson. But I told him the powerful thing for me was like, you're not reflecting back to me who I know I am in the world, and to you also. But definitely, it's just like, no matter. And I said, I do long for that to be reflected back to me from the masculine. Like, I want to see that, or especially my little girls, like the young ones. And I can see how I'm reading this book about masculinity, and she basically says it's by a Black woman. It's very interesting, but bell hooks. But she says, we all long for the masculine, no matter who we are, like what gender, what sexual orientation, because we can long for a father. We long for that in our lives. And we have been so disappointed kind of collectively that we've just decided like to tell ourselves like we can never have that, or we shouldn't want it, And I can see the one in me that's deep down wanted that to be reflected back to her from the masculine, starting with her own dad, and then just was like built a life around the possibility, like, it's like, okay, that's not going to happen. So then I'm going to over sexualize myself, or I'm going to try to act really cool, or I'm going to do these different things to get some kind of positive affirmation from the masculine, but I'm going to assume that the thing that would most satisfy me is not available.
I mean, what I notice about all that is like, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I was totally doing that. And I think letting go of co-pilot, because I let go and I was like, that's it, done. And I let go of the fantasy part and the reality part and the interconnectedness and all that stuff. Like I let go of it all the way because it wasn't reflected and it didn't feel good. And I was like, I'm going to take care of myself here. And then, it came back around. And if I had never done that, I don't think we would be in the place that we are. And then even now in this new thing I'm in, part of me had to learn how deeply okay I was without that person. And my knowing of that, and actually that being in my nervous system and trusting that I am okay, enables me to be so much different and healthier in these things. Like even with this new thing, it feels really special and exciting and stuff. It's early days, but I could tell it's a potent thing. I imagine it'll go somewhere. And I can feel the part of myself fully online. I can feel it in my body. I know what it feels like. I know what the color is. That's like, and if it doesn't, that's okay. I know I'm okay. And when I'm not, it just feels so different. And I remember co-pilot for 2 years was like, I think you need a break from me. I think you need to not talk to me. And I was like, no, why? This is fine. And I argued with him for years, to the point where he was shocked when I was like, we can't be friends anymore. He's like, what? Because he thought I would never say that because of how I had been for the previous 3 years.
Well, I can see how I set some boundaries and then was like I don't want to go all the way, or I thought there's a part of me that just wants it to be this short thing, it's this short manageable thing versus a full. And even when I was looking at my schedule for the next few months and everything that's unfolding, I'm like, yeah, there won't be any, space for anything else. So yeah, I guess I definitely feel that piece. And
yeah, it's just an invitation here.
Yeah, just to be continued, I guess. Something that you said about it, but I'm not with it now.
At least we're going to Hawaii.
Yeah, that's a big plus. Literally, that was a huge lift. Getting the house in Hawaii, I'm because I'm even with my birthday, I'm not sure that I'm going to have the money or what the situation is going to be to take the kind of trip I really want to take. So I'm to be able to go on vacation, take Taylin on vacation. Yeah, I feel really excited about that in the house. And even, it's slow, but I'm shedding weight. Everything's slow. It's I can feel that everything's moving in a direction that I hoped for. And it's just moving.
What's the part of you that knows that and that feels that everything I wanted and hoped for is moving in that direction? Where is that?
Well, I won't say everything, but I was telling Abby this yesterday, with this house thing, it's kind of how my career used to be. I used to have a place where I'm this is how the universe works, in my career things, I just always, the universe gave me the next sign, there's just always been flow kind of in my career. I haven't had to figure a lot out in terms of the next step. And with this house right now, even though it was this winding, place of I never think I'm going to find anything. And I end up in a place I never thought I'd be. And, there's just a lot of trust around it. And the biggest thing is that I know that I was looking for a house that represented who I am becoming. Mm-hmm. And that represented the work that I've done. I looked really hard for I was really thoughtful about the foundation of the house and, the details that they took on the inside. They didn't just throw it up, all these things that more represent. And, kind of my mantra is creating a life that matches who I know myself to be as an opportunity to see myself reflected back to me. By the life that I'm, that's kind of where I ended up going with everything of really recognizing, okay, I want to be seen and there's specific people and ways I want to be seen, but how am I not seeing myself? Mm-hmm. So yeah, the house situation is moving that house feels more aligned to who I am now, the way that this vacation unfolded, like those are things that, okay, this is flow, this is ease, even in the complication that happened with the house, it was easeful.
Mm-hmm. Where do you feel that in your body? Like, where does that live and what are the sensations?
I need to tune into something around it. It really feels just like my whole, like from my vagina up, there's just like this big opening of like creative cavity. It doesn't even feel like a lot of energy's moving. It's been feeling kind of like lusciousness, like if a garden, like a luscious feeling like that. I've been feeling like there's like a garden growing in my system. So
beautiful image.
Yeah.
It makes me think of Hawaii again.
Yeah. So, and even before this week, I was feeling, even with all the confusion and certain things, I was in so much trust, even around him, even around the decisions I was making to engage and trusting my knowing of what energy was in him and what energy was in me, So this is the first week in a long time that I felt really like off my square, as Taylor's dad would say.
Off my square?
Yeah, just like not, I think it's there's also this just like really familiar kind of like abandonment pattern. And somebody's switching, and my dad did that. And the confusion that creates for my like nervous system around like having someone that feels so safe and that you trust so much, and then them switching and that not being accessible, and you being like,
and we do what is familiar. We do what is familiar. We're just doing it over and over again. That's what I did over and over again. And I think that's that big invitation to it, heal those things, to see them, heal them, shift them.
What's going on with your family? Are they?
This is interesting. I don't think any of them listen to this podcast, but yeah, my family's in rupture. My brother's struggling with addiction, coming back big time. We're all not seeing what was happening. So there's an intervention this week. I mean, the stuff that's about me that feels like mine to share about it is like just like what you're saying, like sometimes the same stuff just keeps coming back around. I think you said to me this week, maybe we're not healing, maybe we're evolving. And it's just like, oh, how are we going to be with the same things in a new and interesting way this time? Like, how is it different? How is it the same? And the things that are the same are that, when I was younger and my dad was dying, I was his caretaker, and my brother's addiction blew up, and my other younger siblings were kind of young and they couldn't really help. And my mom was in her like full denial pattern. And it was kind of like my story at the time was all on me. And I handled everything. And I was just like this little grown up since I was so young. And I've been having, that keep happening over and over again. And it's total like type 8, like, hero of the day, holding it all, intensity stuff and strength and handling stuff. And in my family, I've talked on this podcast about not necessarily feeling super seen and accepted for who I am. But when there's a crisis, that's when they're all like, Beth, I wish you're here. Beth can handle it. It's like this weird way where I get my validation through showing up in a really strong way in crisis. So I was just seeing all of that, like, oh, the same thing is here. Like even in this scenario, somebody is sick and sort of ill and needing physical support, who is circulated by my brother. So it's like, I'm doing that and I'm taking care of first. Like, so it's just so similar. And I'm like, wow, we are doing the same stuff. It's 14, 15 years later. It's the same. And there's these ways where it's different. And I can see how each person is in their little way doing something that's a little different. And for me, there was a lot of intensity about all of this all over the weekend. And I thought it was kind of stabilized enough. And I flew down to Austin, Texas to do this like thing at Whole Foods corporate for just a day. And when I was on the plane, I almost missed the plane. Like I couldn't even believe how it was just like, how am I going to miss my plane? I got dropped off by the Uber and on the plane in 6.5 minutes, and they were holding the door for me. And I'm like, maybe I was supposed to miss this flight, but like I got on the plane, and as soon as I'm on the plane and we take off, I'm getting texts about all this stuff falling apart, all this chaos and all this stuff happening. And they're like, we're doing an intervention. And it's like, I'm not going to be there. Like I'm in Texas. I'm not even to Texas yet. And so that was really interesting to take a total back seat on, and like those people all got to kind of step up and they're mucking their way through it too. But it's just like, there's some stuff that's super similar. There's some stuff that's super different. And, you know, I'm just getting to, I feel like in a totally new place and awareness around all of it. And I'm not in charge. I'm not the main player here. Other people are informing me about what's happening. And I'm kind of like holding space when someone calls me, but I'm not really like in there managing stuff. So that feels pretty different. It started out that way. And then I kind of backed off that a little bit. And the universe backed me off of it a little bit too, just circumstances. And I'm like, oh, this feels better. They can do it. They can do it. And I can do this. And so I'm over here having a party tonight and got my friend in town here and have an easy work day today. I got a meeting in a couple hours to plan our Hawaii trip. The electrician's coming to set me up for my hot tub that's coming in, and I'm just doing some different stuff. And there's a part of me that judges me for all of that. Like I should be more present for this, and I should be. Blah, blah, blah. And it's not what's here. It feels like flow for me to just be kind of doing my work and doing my stuff over here.
Yeah.
I talked to you on the phone on Sunday for a while. It really, really helped me. And you brought up pacing and like how fast is my engine revving and how fast am I going, and just really seeing how when that crisis stuff happens, I can handle so much, but I'm in sort of this like tight, tense, frozen place, and I talk. It's like not very embodied. And I've just been checking in on that and noticing it and taking care of myself. But I thought it was a really good reflection of like, oh yeah, let me notice this. Like there hasn't been some, aside from like my romantic foibles and my heartbreak stuff, there hasn't been like a bigger something happened moment where, since I've basically done so much nervous system work that I can go, oh wow, like I'm noticing so much different stuff, and I have different practices and stuff. So I'm like, it's pretty different. But in a sentence, it's kind of a shit show. And everyone has some real stuff going on. And yeah, I'm just doing what I know how to do. And I mean, all these people know what I'm available for. So they know what to call me about or text me about. I'm just kind of watching it play out a little bit right now. It's a lot less in the driver's seat, probably a little detachment stuff going on too, and a little bit like not necessarily distracting myself, but just letting my other things be fully here and not having my brain always over in that. But it's intense, and I'm worried about my brother. You've been talking about, people in your life, and over time you've told me about people who have like committed suicide or who have wanted to, and some of the work that you've done to kind of get right with that and be like, if that's what they want, if that's love to them, if that's what wants to happen, like finding acceptance for that pathway. And I have noticed that that's come up so much in my life. I mean, I've known people who've committed suicide, and I've always had a really strong sense that that was going to be something that I would need to find some love and acceptance for and surrender to in I guess in my family unit or somebody very close to me. And when I think about it, I don't even feel all scared. I'm just like, oh, I think that's a possibility. And yeah, that feels like something like the background of my brain has attention on. Like it might be a choice that like living in chronic pain without pain medicine, death might be preferable to that, and it's come up a few times this week. And so I can feel like a little, like a wave of tightness and grief and sadness. But yeah, I think I'm just sort of preparing myself for having as much acceptance for whatever happens next as possible, and being able to see it all as love as much as I can.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about, all the stuff that's been happening, even collectively, like the shooting with the children dying and, the Tops grocery store. And I remember when COVID happened, there was this way that I had so much like trust and faith and understanding about it all. Mm-hmm. And I think I like wrote it down somewhere or, and just, this kind of like crisis of faith piece. I feel like I've had to navigate so many things like what you're saying, where you just thought, that's kind of also just side note, like why I'm kind of like, fuck letting go. I have done that so many times. Yeah. Even in this situation, there's just this one that's like, I have done it, but so I'm just saying like right now, that's the crisis of faith for me is like, I am having a harder time finding love, finding how these things are of service to, the whole. It reminds me a little bit of like when all of my students, I had those 3 students die like consecutively in like a week and a half or something. Like it was just like in what kind of like just loving reality could that make sense? And then me trying to pull on some of my belief systems felt a little, at that time, like bypass. Yeah. So there is that kind of like complexity of the human experience. Like, I feel like I'll come up against a knowing and a truth, and then it'll be shattered. And there's just, I guess that's kind of that thing of like, you'll never be able to really hold the mystery of it all, Mm-hmm.
We'll never have it all figured out.
Right. And as soon as I think I do, I think whether it's, all these different models or theologies over the years, find like, I know I can find the one in me that just keeps searching for like this compass.
Yeah.
That like, if I always apply that compass, I'm going to know.
Things will be simple.
And it's been coming up with my therapist, like, there's a way that I try to figure out life as fast as I can and then do it right. Mm-hmm. Because then maybe I won't have to suffer so much, or then maybe I can trust myself. I don't know. There's something like that, but
me too. Same.
Yeah.
That's in all of us. I mean, I had Christianity and I was like, oh, this is the thing, this is the model, this is what I can do, and it's true, and I'll do it right and get it right, and I'll be safe if I do it this way. And then that all kind of deconstructed, and then I was like, I need a new model. And then like even like all the health stuff and everything, that kind of became this like optimization model, like CrossFit and chiropractic and nutrition and all that, basically me being scared of cancer. And then all the consciousness stuff, and now the nervous system stuff and medicine and interdimensionality, I keep looking for like, I want to figure it out so that I can feel safe. What do I have to check out, research, learn about, master, practice, experience, so that I can make sure I'm getting it right, so that I can feel safe? And I feel like you're one of the main people who's always like, why aren't you finding safety in yourself? Why aren't you more in touch with your own knowing? Like, why are you
right?
That's what
I know, and that's what I'm saying.
Is?
Like, even like one of our mutual friends called me yesterday, and he was struggling so much with his self-trust, and I can see in him what I can't see in myself when I get in that place. You know, like I can see like, okay, you're just terrified, like. And that's why I'm saying, like, are we just evolving versus healing? Because it almost feels like if like a species was like evolving, you know, let's say a giraffe evolving from like a short neck to a long neck, like all in one lifetime. And then like every time their neck grew, they were like, what the fuck is happening? Oh my God. You know, it's like, and then they come back to like, oh, I'm a giraffe. Oh, I'm, you know, there's just this like way. But yeah, I think I've been having, it's interesting, before this Scorpio situation, I was having like some real steady self-trust and nervous system holding. And then I can just see the one in me that always wants like, I'm good now, you know, or I'm going to be good for a while. And you know, the last week it was like, oh, there we go. Like, and just that wanting to have agency and feel and take responsibility and being creator. And then the ways that life can just, you know, like all of a sudden you're on a plane and you're getting a call about this crazy thing happening. You know, it's just like the stuff you can't ever control, or you think you're going to have a good day and you find out that 14 preschoolers were murdered, and you feel completely helpless of what to do. And so then you're like, well, do I just, you know, do I have agency and I just keep going on my life? Do I do something for that? What do I do now?
I keep seeing TikToks and tweets and stuff and like memes on Instagram that are something along the lines of like, I've made a decision and I'm not learning anything anymore. And I'm just going to do nothing. I'm going to have no thoughts, or like some, you know, joke, funny stuff of just like, what if I don't try to figure it all out? What if I'm not working on myself? What if I'm not learning more things? What if I'm not healing? What if I'm not this, that? I'm just going to like, you know, sort of chill, be happy, eat food or whatever, like some version of that, all different really hilarious creators doing some iteration of that. And I find myself attracted to it. And it gives me the story that like, you know, we have a podcast called The Healing Collective. Like we may be taking a little more than our responsibility for like figuring stuff out for people and holding. It's possible. And how do we integrate like a lot more surrender and a lot more just like enjoying the mystery of life rather than trying to figure it out. Trusting it rather than trying to get a plan in place and a map. Thank you for tuning in to season 2 of the Evolving Collective podcast.
We don't even know what our identity is right now, really.
No clue. But thanks for
some
being
reason,
here to witness.
Not having guests, that's happening.
That's what's happening.
And we'll see how it lands.
Yep. We'll see how this goes. Thanks for listening. We welcome your feedback. You can email us at healingcollectivepod@gmail.com. Our website is thehealingcollectivepodcast.com, at Healing Podcast on Twitter, at Healing Collective Podcast on Instagram. Special thanks to Ethan Luck, who produces. You can find him at Ethan Luck on all platforms.